Happy holidays and welcome to the Offsides Playoff Preview Spectacular. This is not really a spectacular playoff preview, just our chance before we go on holiday to talk about the teams that we think have the best chance of winning the Super Bowl. The obvious favorite, of course, is the Seattle Seahawks, number 1 seed in the NFC. They've got home field throughout the playoffs. The Clink is a tough place to play. They haven't lost there in 2 years, unless something happens in Week 17, in which case, cut this out. And of course, the defense is the main story here. Number 1 in DVOA, number 1 in pass yards allowed, number 1 in scoring defense through Week 15. Just a defense that you really don't want to go up against. And they could be getting back additional cornerbacks, Brandon Browner and Walter Thurman, that they've lost to injury and or suspension, depending on the appeals process.
Just confirming that the Seahawks lead in takeaways. No, Kansas City has more.
Oh, Kansas City! And of course, Seahawks also pretty capable on offense. Some depth issues at wide receiver, but they could be getting Percy Harvin finally healthy, maybe, if his hip ever gets better. Marshawn Lynch is a terrific running back and backed up by Robert Turbin and Christian Michael, also capable runners. Yeah, they're a justifiable number 1 seed. Let's stay in the NFC West and talk about another team with great Super Bowl aspirations. Last year's NFC champion, the San Francisco 49ers. Tell me about that team. They're pretty good, yeah?
Well,
they're okay.
They lead the league in idiotic fans.
It's a perfectly fine city. Rent is extremely expensive, although no worse than New York City. Hobos are aggressive. So is the Niners defense. Bring it back to football.
Hey.
We got Alden Smith back, Justin Smith still anchoring that defensive line, and the secondary much improved from a year ago. Would you say that?
Yeah, Eric Reed. Whew, who'd have thought he'd be an upgrade over to Sean Goldson, but...
And the Niners, of course, no slouches on offense. Colin Kaepernick, not quite the exciting player that he was last year, but he's been passing better ever since he's gotten Michael Crabtree back. And of course, Mario Manningham's returned to the team. And it's a team that still runs the ball well with Frank Gore, so yeah, Niners could win any game. Sure.
You know what would be really cool is if the 49ers got to the Super Bowl and the Ravens got to the Super Bowl, because then the Harbaugh brothers...
Oh my gosh, has
would
that
play
ever
each
even
other.
happened before in NFL
Probably
history?
Not.
No.
Probably not.
Crazy. And of course, if we're talking about NFC powerhouses, we have to talk about the NFC South. Buoyed by 2 teams, the Carolina Panthers, smash and grab defense, running the ball, and the New Orleans Saints, who have a blitzing defense and then throw the ball all over the place. Yeah, they could both win the Super Bowl, sure, why not? Carolina can win games on the road. We've already seen them beat the San Francisco 49ers 10-9, and only lost to the Seahawks by 5. That was in Carolina, of course. But the Panthers stand shoulder to shoulder with the rest of the best teams in the NFC. They are an obvious Super Bowl favorite. And now for a casual mention of the NFC North. Your teams suck, can't play defense, although I wouldn't count out Aaron Rodgers if the Packers somehow sneak in as a 4 seed. Yep, got it. Let's talk about AFC favorites. Obviously, the Broncos are head and shoulders. I won't say head and shoulders. They're head above the rest of the AFC.
But it's a really big head.
Peyton Manning, the likely NFL MVP, or at least Offensive Player of the Year. Leading a team, he's thrown out that narrative that he can't win in the cold after torching the Titans for 51 points in cold weather.
But then he lost to San Diego, so it's like, does that
San Diego's a
come
great
back?
cold weather team. What are you talking about? Broncos have a solid enough defense, passing attack that can f up anybody. Broncos' high point is obviously the offense. Tell me about their receivers, how they're the best in history and like that.
Between Thomas, Decker, and other Thomas, they're not no shortage for targets.
Thomas, Decker, and Thomas sounds like a law firm that I'd be willing to go to.
I was going to say a really shitty law firm.
Yeah? Not nearly as good as Ben Jarvis, Green, and Ellis.
Oh, no.
So Broncos with the home field advantage, probably. The obvious picks to come out of the AFC, but here's the thing. Teams with byes don't always win the Super Bowl. Since 2005,
Yeah, starting with that Steelers-Seahawks Super Bowl, the only teams to win the Super Bowl and have a bye in the playoffs are the 08 Steelers, 09 Saints.
So, who are the sneaky teams that are playing Wild Card Weekend that could possibly win? How about maybe the Bengals? They play some defense.
Actually, this is going out on a limb, but I think Baltimore has as good a chance as anyone in the AFC.
I f***ing hate watching Baltimore play.
I mostly say that just because of how jumbled the whole AFC is in general, though. They all have just such glaring weaknesses that...
How about the Kansas City Chiefs? Got that 5 seed pretty much locked down. They'll be playing Wild Card Weekend. They'll be beating either the Colts or the Bengals.
Possibly the Ravens if they win the North.
Yep.
Possibly the Broncos.
So there you go. That's what passes for a playoff preview on Offsides. Whatever, it's my show. I can do what I want. Chalk says Seahawks versus Broncos. Frankly, I'd be okay with that. But as we've seen in the NFL, the teams like to surprise us, and what you want never happens because life isn't fair. Hope you enjoy the playoffs. We'll be watching. Please join us.